If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. Another week, and my good friend is back, Gary C. Johnson.
Here we are again. How'd you do last week, guys and gals? Again, none of you broke any of the rules. You all use the 24-hour rule, right? Actually, I know I've given you some stuff that's probably impossible for you to do. But at least you'll get a chuckle when you do break it and recognize you're doing it. At least if that much. Because it's so hard to be impeccable with the word. It is so hard.
You know, I thought about you this week. I actually had this conversation with a friend. We were talking about great shows on television. And I said, my friend, Gary Johnson, has now convinced me the greatest movie, the greatest show, is watching everybody, people, on an individual basis every day. Life is the greatest entertainment that there is.
Oh, there's no question. If you, my friends, if you will just start watching what's going on around you, keep this thing quiet, or they'll be watching you, okay? And listen to what people are saying. Then take what they're saying and put it over here. Then look to see what's going to happen. And it generally doesn't have anything to do with what they're saying.
Well, look what the lesson you taught us last week about the Purdue Pharma Company. Mm-hmm. Everything that was being said had nothing to do with it.
No, that's right. So if you want to find the truth about what's really going on when you're listening, try to imagine, well, now what is the end result of all of this talk? Where's it going to end up? Then you can probably maybe figure out the truth. That doesn't mean that people are lying that's talking. But for whatever reason, it's going to go someplace different than what the talk is. And then you can find the truth. Years ago, I realized in a lawsuit or anything, you've got to go, what's the end result? Where's this going? How's it going to end? Then you work your way backwards to find the truth. Try it sometime, my folks. Just listen and watch, and you will be amazed at how entertained you are and how you will start chuckling. I know now what's going on here.
Well, I'm chuckling because I had a friend that used to say, well, I didn't start out for it to be that way, but events made it go that way. Mm-hmm. So even though, like you said, people will say, well, that's not where I was headed, but you know it's going to end up that way.
It's a phenomenon that if you get tuned into it, it will help you in many, many ways, for one thing. But it'll amuse you beyond your wildest imagination. When you watch the rationalization people are giving, that they're believing. And then you go to see where's it going to end, what's the end result, and it's entirely different.
You know, Gary, what I like about it, it's better than a crossword puzzle. It's better than getting out of a maze, but it forces you to think. Mm-hmm. And you know, on this program, I tell everyone, Gary lays out information and says, now think about this and see what you come up with. And that's what you're telling people to do on the life period, is just look at it and think.
The hardest thing in a lawsuit for me to teach young associates and people that I'm trying to teach is how to stay focused on what really happened. In other words, got a simple case, right? Very simple. There's a wreck. A car blocks one lane of the interstate. Car's coming down. This car's got this one lane blocked. Woman's in it. The guy slows down to see because there's a wreck. He slows down. Well, as he's slowing down, or he may have even got to the point where he stopped there because that woman was still in that car where she wrecked. A truck comes along, full speed, and wipes him out. Simple case, right?
I would think.
You wouldn't believe the convoluted things that they're trying to. Well, they shouldn't have slowed down. Well, he actually didn't just slow down, he stopped. Well, he may have even put that car in park right there on the interstate, for all we know. And on and on and on, and they crippled this guy when his truck could see him 1,200 feet back. The minute he could see him 1,200 foot back. And he hit him at full speed and destroyed him. But the excuses they come up with and the things they throw out to try to confuse the issue, when it's a simple case, right? He wiped this guy out for no reason.
So now that's the goal of the defense, to say, all right, the truck ran over this guy. Let's see how we can make it his fault. Let's see how we can blame him for getting run over.
Then, and I mean, fused about this much of his spine together because of all the cracks and the vertebrae and things, literally wiped the guy out. But he was trying to have some life a year later, and he gets enough money together to buy a little old bitty pontoon boat, but I mean the smallest one that they make, so he could go out on the river with his son, okay? Well, guess what? They hire these shady people with cameras to follow him. And they finally catch him one day going out on that pontoon with his son. And their case is now, he's really not hurt.
Because he went fishing. So because he went fishing, there is no credible reason to believe that he was run over, even though the medical reports show that his back was...
Well, I mean, he's destroyed. And I went down, this case is down outside of Louisville, and I went down and talked to his doctor that's doing his pain management. He said, that's why I give him his medicine. I'm trying my best to get him to be active so that he can lose some of that weight he's put on because of this, being laid up for months and months. And I'm encouraging him to get out there and do it, even if you have to pay for it the next day, because if you're not active, it will make things worse as you get older. And I give him medication so he can take it, so he can go be active.
Gary, what kind of pain and suffering is there from this man who is now being labeled as a liar, who you've got somebody following you around with a camera saying you picked up a fishing rod and put a worm on it, we're going to call you a thief and a liar and trying to get something for nothing. What kind of damage does that do to this individual?
Well, I've preached for years that when a good, legitimate, decent human being is really harmed through the negligence and carelessness of somebody else, and the insurance company forces that person to have to file a lawsuit, that the lawsuit itself should be an element of damages. Because every one of you that's watching this program, I guarantee you the last thing in the world you want to do is get involved in the legal system in any way. The last thing in the world any of you want to do is become what's called a plaintiff in a lawsuit. My clients are just like you. Good, decent people that were harmed because safety rules were violated. And it will drive them crazy. I tell my clients, when they first come to see me, I say, we're sitting here at this table, and this table represents your entire life. Now you're getting ready to embark in and become part of the legal system. you're going to become a plaintiff in litigation because this insurance company has not come forward and done what they're supposed to do. But this table represents everything in your life, your family, the church, everything you do. This lawsuit, you're going to give it this much, this little bitty part right here, a little corner of the table. And guess what? You're going to leave me in charge of that. And the reason I tell my clients that is a lawsuit will drive a person crazy. You're powerless when you're in a lawsuit, but unless you're the attorney. Think about it. You can't control what's going on. You don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. You don't know anything about the medicine, really. You don't know anything about the law. And so you start going over and over and over it in your head. What if, what if, what if, what if? And after a while, that injury that's bad enough in and of itself becomes a whole lot worse. Let's take a break and I'm going to come right back. I'm going to talk to you some more about this.
Yeah, I have a point to make on that also, and a question for Gary. Stay with us. We've got a good program for you tonight. This is Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
I'm attorney Gary C. Johnson. I hate these commercials as bad as you do. I have no choice if I want to let you know that I'm in the business of practicing law, representing injured people, except to do this commercial. I don't fish, I don't golf, I get money for injured people. Check my record, go to GaryCJohnson.com, and I'll bet you if you've been hurt, you might want to give me a call.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. Gary, I love the point you were making, but as I was sitting here, I was thinking about an individual that I knew that went through this, and while you're giving the pep talk, and while you're showing the piece of the table, I get that. I understand it. Even when you and I do shows together, I get pumped up. But when you're gone, and that individual is at home, alone, broken, in pain, bills piling up, no one around to talk to, all of a sudden, all these fears come in, and it's not only painful, I mean, it's life-threatening for these individuals.
Well, the delay, just the delay in getting some help is devastating to people. People don't think about it. What's this man going to do to support his child since he can no longer work? How's he getting by? How's he going to hang on for years while they drag him through a system? So you know what happens? They give up. Mm-hmm. And they end up taking less than what their case is worth most of the time.
So, and again, this is a business plan on the insurance company's parts because they know that. Mm-hmm. They know that depression is going to set in.
Yeah. It's just business for an insurance company. Business. But my friends, if any of you have been in a lawsuit and you've been injured, you know what I'm talking about. And you know how hard it is to recover and to get the money that you're actually owed, because once they did this to you, they then have a debt to you. It's a debt. They owe you that money. Now, the insurance company is the one that's supposed to be paying it, but most of the time they won't, unless somebody forces them to. It's just the way it works. If insurance companies did what they should do, I would be out of business. I wouldn't have anything to do. Think about that. If people drove safely and they were careful, and that driver had been watching what he was doing and hadn't hit this man I talked about and destroyed his life, I'd be out of business, right? And if his insurance company even then had come forward to this man and said, we want to make this right. Here's the insurance we've got, you can have it. I'd be out of business. But that never happens. Instead, they follow him, surveil him. they hire an expert to say he must have bowed up there because that guy hit him that hard.
Yeah,
When the guy said, I saw him 1,000 foot away.
that's what we're thinking. I'm going to brace myself and bow up so I can have more injuries.
Yeah, but, and they try to make the person that's hurt the villain. The villain. When this guy, all he was doing was taking his baby, his son, to the babysitter. And I think it's interesting. It took, in this case I was talking to you about, it took the back of this vehicle and it took it all the way into the front seat. There was no back seat left. Now his son was 7 years old, and he was of the size that he could sit it up front with a seatbelt on with his dad. Had he been in the back seat, he'd be dead.
Wow.
It would have killed him. And it's amazing the difference in people. I've talked about as we get older and our bodies get more frail, and this guy was like 40 years old, but his son was 7. Took this terrible lick. His son didn't get hurt.
Younger, flexible.
Flex, yeah.
You know, nature, God's gift, to able to withstand something.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting, that he had a jelly donut he was eating, and it got all over him, and people thought that was blood when they first come up to him, but it was just a jelly donut. But I thought it was interesting. I just wanted to share some of that with you folks. I don't know why it wasn't what I was planning on talking to you about.
And Gary, does this go when you're talking with clients that, because you're giving us this scenario, that if you're horribly injured, even people will look on Facebook, and if you've got a picture of holding your grandchild or anything, they're going to grab that and try to use it against you to say, oh, look, they're able to hold a 10-pound newborn grandbaby or something. They're not really hurt. I mean, it's that bad, isn't it?
Well, you can be horribly injured and have serious injuries and still live and try to have a life. Most people do try to have a life. Now the question is, does you trying to have a life, are you trying to be there for your child? Are you trying to be there for your family? Are you even trying to do some type of work? Mm-hmm. Does that make what happened to you less? And the insurance company's convinced it does. I'm convinced it doesn't.
If anything, you should be applauded.
Yeah.
That you are trying not to go crazy and lose your mind, and that you're trying to be normal with your family or have some kind of
In
life.
other words, our argument with this man is he should never get out of the house,
Yeah.
that he should stay in all the time, and that he should not even try to walk around, that even if he gets to the point of where taking his meds and he feels like he's able to, that he should just stay in the house. Then they wouldn't have any surveillance from their people that they hired. And it's just wrong. It's just,
Honestly, Gary,
people are cruel.
when I hear that, I think they ought to pay extra. My opinion is to do the damage to this man and to try to make him out to be a liar after he was run over by the truck, and to have that surveillance video, I think they should have to pay extra.
And the reason I can talk about this on the program today, this case isn't here in Eastern Kentucky. It's down past Louisville, so nobody's going to be watching this program down in that area. So.
Right.
The thing about it is, folks, try your best to stay out of a lawsuit because it can drive you crazy.
So not only for your physical damage, but for your mental damage, because you're talking about a process that's going to be just as painful.
You know, I've talked in the program a little bit over the years about defense doctors that are hired to say there's nothing wrong with people that's been hurt by, and they make a lot of money doing that. It's a business for them. And a defense doctor not long ago, when I was asking him questions about my client, said, well, he should have got better he shouldn't have these problems. You know, statistics show that this type of injury, most people over time will get better over whatever time that period is. I said, well, there's some that don't. Well, yeah, there's some that don't. He said, but you have to understand, Mr. Johnson, that there are studies that show that people that are in litigation, that are in a lawsuit, they take longer for some reason to heal because we think they're just trying to get money. And there are studies that show that it takes them longer to heal if they're in litigation. And I looked at him and I said, where's the studies that show what the litigation is doing to these people mentally? Where's the studies that show they can't sleep at night? Where's the studies that show that they can't heal because they're too depressed? He said, well, they don't have any studies like that. I said, that's what I thought. I suspected.
Yeah, the person is laying there all alone, crippled, and afraid they're going to lose their house, and you're wondering why they can't heal?
And I told him, I said, I agree with those studies that yes, it does take people longer to heal that are in litigation, both physically and mentally. And what caused them to be in litigation? The insurance company would not pay what they were legally obligated to pay. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in litigation. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
You know, I really enjoy when my friend gets passionate about a subject and he starts talking about it. You can see it in his face, how much he cares about his clients and what he's up against and what he's doing to try to make sure that they get somehow made back whole if they can. Stay with us. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson right after this.
Insurance companies will test lawyers to see if they know what they're doing. Luckily, they tested me. And because of that, over the years, I've been able to get verdicts for my clients in excess of $315 million in the state of Kentucky, most of which are just in eastern Kentucky. We proved we know what we're doing. We proved we can go in front of a jury. And guess what? Most of my cases settle now. Wonder why? Give us a call.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. You know, I'm listening to you, and I know firsthand, I've watched everything that you just said happen with an individual. Even after the case was over, after all that mental pain and anguish, and they got the insurance money, their life was never the same. They have said on numerous occasions, not only would I give all the money back, I would sell my house, my cars, give you every penny I got if you could just take me back to that day, the morning of the accident, and make me back the person I was before it happened. Gary, that's strong, strong words.
Well, somebody said to me one time that, Gary, we have to put down when we're trying a case how much money we think the client is should have. It's the law in the state of Kentucky. And someone said to me, Gary, you're putting down too much. And I looked at them and I said, would you take that money and go through what they've gone through? I said, well, no, that's not me I'm talking about. I said, no, I'm saying to you, would you change your entire life as you know it, get up every day and hurt every single day for the rest of your life? Would you take the amount of money I put down there? He said, well, there's not enough money. I said, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
There is not enough money to pay that person what they've lost and been taken from them. So you come back and say, okay, what is a reasonable amount that they should have that maybe will give them a chance to have some life? And if they're hurt bad and they have little or no family, I told a jury one time, I said, let them have the money so that at least maybe they could buy them some friends so they won't be alone all the time.
Yeah.
And I was serious because money is all you can get. And money, there's no eye for an eye, there's no tooth for a tooth. He can't go down and cripple somebody because they crippled you. And money, the insurance money, is all this person can get. And I think they should have every dime of it. And it isn't enough. It's never enough. And I tell them when they come in and they talk about the table, I said, you understand, I will never get you enough money. Never. That's not going to happen here. It's not, the system is not fair. It's not, there will never be enough money to compensate you for what's happened to you. Now all I can do is try to get you what's out there. And I'll go after it with everything I've got to get you every dime that's out there to be got on it from this insurance company. But it will not be enough to take care of what's happened to you. It never is. And that's the point I'm trying to make to my friends is try to stay out of a wreck. Really, please, for your sake, drive defensively. Don't get on the roads unless you really need to. The days of getting out here and taking a joyride are over. It's too dangerous. Because once you're in that wreck and somebody has mutilated your body, you can't undo it, ever.
You know, and I want to tell everyone that's watching the television show, Gary does a radio show every Wednesday. And every Wednesday on your local stations, he talks about being happy. And he's talking to people who have not been run over, who have not been injured. Because you're telling these people, if you haven't been in the situation of my clients, you need to be happy. Because I deal with people every day that's got a reason not to be happy.
Talked to one of my clients this morning. All kinds of reasons to not be happy. And we're spending a lot of time with her because of the depression it's set in. It's tough on these people. And their livelihood is pulled away from them. Their interaction with their kids, their grandkids, or whatever, stay pulled away from them. And no, I will never get this lady enough money to pay her for what she's been through. But you can bet your life I'm going to get all the insurance there is.
My friend, thank you for the passion and thank you for the information. We didn't get to the computer, but if you need Gary, go to GaryCJohnson.com. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. We look forward to seeing you again next week at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
You notice on the legal advertisement of lawyers that they've made verdicts an issue? Well, guess what? This old boy from Eastern Kentucky's got the largest verdict in the state of Kentucky, and nobody's even come close to it. Over my career, I've got my clients' verdicts of over $315 million. Yep, I'm glad they made verdicts an issue. Check my record and I'll bet you decide it might be wise to give old Gary a call.